picking up level. All right, welcome back to Reset Podcast. I got Dave Buzby and Wayne Buzby here, so we actually have a Buzby gaming thing going on.
You gotta use last names and shit.
All right, so we're gonna start off with the NES. What's the first game you guys remember playing on the NES?
I remember playing Contra. Contra was pretty awesome, but yeah, Mario Brothers was probably, let's say Mario Brothers was probably the first game. I think we all played Mario Brothers first because that's the game that came with the system. So
Was that the one with the duck hunt with it?
No, this was just the original. I think that came out a little later with the duck hunt.
Did that system come with the gun too, or is that a later iteration too?
No, that was later. They just came out with the console, and I believe the Mario Brothers was the first game that everybody played.
What year did that console come out though?
It was 1985 in the U.S. and I believe 82.
Yeah, something like
Famicom.
How much was it? It's like fucking expensive as shit back then.
I couldn't even remember. I imagine it had to be at least $100.
I think it was like $149.
$100, something like that.
What was your first game, Dave?
I probably would have to say Double Dragon, for the fact that I played it at the arcade, and I really liked the sound effects at the arcade, man. I mean, it was like catastrophic when dudes got hit. It was really great. It sounded like, bones were breaking. And then when I got the Nintendo version, it sounded like somebody was smacking a turkey instead of like actually having a cool sound.
Get them giblets.
I'm just like, man. But the sound effect wasn't bad. But some of the games that came out later on, like Double Dragon for Sega Genesis, the sound effects just got worse. It just sounded like somebody was brooming the street with a hard broom, and then it was just horrible sound effects.
I think the first game I played for the NES was it was probably that version of the Mario that had like all the different versions on it. It had like 1, 2, and 3. Like you could pick and choose which one. It was probably like one of the last games released for the NES.
Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Mario All-Stars.
Well, no, this one was on the NES, so maybe it was a bootleg. But I mean, maybe it was Super Nintendo because that was my first console. Nintendo was Super Nintendo. I later played the NES because Dave had it and he stuck around with it for a while. But yeah, maybe it was Super Nintendo. But that was the one I remember is you could pick all one of the 3 Mario games on one cartridge.
Yeah,
and they had the lowest levels on there.
Yeah, Nintendo, had when they had games you can play, they were mostly like the cheapest of the cheap. As soon as you
welfare.
As soon as you press start and you jump over a rock, you beat the game, and then you got to go to the next game title. I mean, they were really horrible.
Oh, like that 501
for NES was just like horrible games. You get into a little jet and it goes pew pew and you shoot the guy, and then the game's over. It's like, wow, that was it, and you got to pick another game. But it was horrible graphics. It was probably like 4-bit instead of 8.
Well, why? Like, how many? I know you guys are both collecting for it. What's the number you got? How many games you have for the original NES?
I have about 340 games.
So you're about a quarter of the way, or not, almost halfway done. It's 800 something titles, I think.
Yeah, I have a couple doubles of some games for some future bartering.
It's like 600 and something for US.
I thought it was 800 something. Maybe I'm wrong.
It is total, but that's counting Japanese games and stuff, which I have 2 of.
Yeah, I think the numbers are kind of skewed. I don't think there is a definitive number because there's a lot of
like Bible Adventure and shit on the Baby Blue cartridge ain't official, but still counted.
Yeah, it still counts. The unlicensed games I think are a lot more fun. They have Operation Secret Storm with Saddam Hussein in there. That's a pretty fun game if you ever play that. So you can kind of get back at Saddam for all his terroristic attacks. Well,
one of the cool games I thought was pretty cool is they had like a lot of people have homemade like ROMs or ROM hacks, and one of the coolest ones I played was Deadpool. It was for Ninja Gaiden, and they had like made the dude look like Deadpool and shit. And he had like 2 blades, and they like gave you different power ups and all. I thought that was pretty damn cool. And that's what I kind of like about being in the modern games, you know, is that they
677 total. US Nintendo.
Okay, 677. All right. Well,
So
yeah.
750.
And then there's 715 unknown or known licensed games titles, you know. So
Yeah, so it's just a little skewed, like you said.
What was the one you played? Was it homebrew? Someone
It
made
was
that?
it was a ROM hack, and there's like for every popular game, there's probably about like 10 to 12 ROM hacks for it that are pretty cool. Like I know Mario has a lot of them. Like there's like crazy ass hard levels that make Mario Maker look like a fucking kid's game, which I mean it kind of is, but I mean like they got like fucking those fire ropes like every 5 feet. You know, you gotta dodge them like the fucking Matrix. That's one of the ROM hacks. It's like called Mario Hell levels or some shit. Like there's all fucking. Oh, it's still going. It's just locked up for some reason.
somebody must have time warped in and it stopped the time for a little bit.
The whole world.
Do.
Everybody checked.
The whole world just stopped for a second.
Yeah, everybody checked their underwear and shit.
Make sure you weren't probed. Anyway, the stream just kind of skipped there for a second, so it may not be noticeable to you, but it was for us. But yeah, they have a bunch of ROM hacks for all those games, and they even have some for the Super Nintendo and 64. And the cool thing is they actually, some of them have the ability to play on real hardware, so they'll put those ROM hacks on boards and put them on cartridges, and you can pop them in your system and play them. And they're counted as ROM hack repros or whatever. But I mean, some of them are really popular. Like there's one for the N64 I did a video on where it was like 007, but it was like Rick Roll I-64, and I went through and shot like fucking Shrek in the first level and shit. Like you just gotta, there's like all kinds of little weird shit, and that's kind of the cool thing about these classic systems is that the technology is advancing so far that you can actually do crazy ROMs and ROM hacks and things like that and make it a little bit more interesting. But so what was your favorite title on the NES? The absolute one you can't get rid of. You always gotta, like, you think someone says NES, what's the title that pops in your brain?
Well, hold on a second there, Checker Boy. You're jumping all over the place here. See, you're talking about ROM hacks, and my hack me and Wayne got to enjoy
Checker Boy, I don't understand.
was, you gotta jump over everything before you, then king me. Anyway,
Checkmate.
Back to what I was saying.
That's chess.
Our hack. But anyway,
King me.
There you go.
Our hack was like the Game Genie. We had just about one for every system, and that really changed the gameplay. I know that Galoob was being sued by Nintendo because they were changing their games and stuff like that, but obviously lost.
Yeah, because it didn't permanently change the code, so they were like, yeah. Well,
It just made the game like you could just stand there and get hit and be like, aha.
Yeah, it made it more fun for sure.
yeah, some of those games are fucking so difficult, and they do that because it's like the NES, Super Nintendo, Genesis, they come from that arcade timeline where it's like they want you to sink those quarters in. A lot of the people program the games to be similar like that, so it's like, it fucking kicks your ass until you literally find a way to be the best at it.
Yeah, there's just games that later on in the system that they kind of were trying to become educational. They wanted you to read more so that you could play the game. Like
Mario's Missing.
Really awesome game was like River City Ransom. Me and Wayne played that game to death. We get all the way to the high school and we can't even get in there. Apparently, because we didn't read the words, we just wanted to skip all through them. We wanted to hit the guys in the head with the buckets and to whack them in the face with the sticks. And I'm just watching. I mean, Wayne one time pretty much killed me from laughing so hard because he picks a guy up and he's smashing him with another dude. So it's like I'll hit another motherfucker with another motherfucker. I mean, that little meme I keep seeing around, Wayne actually did it. And I think that was a really fun two-player game at the same time, but you had to read it, and then you had to go all the way back to the beginning, beat one dude up in a park or some shit, and then you go back, and then they play the actual Double Dragon music inside the high school. I'm like, wow. So that was a fun ass game, but I played with Wayne so much that I was almost getting aggravated until one day I decided to just read.
Yeah, I think that was probably the first game where they had a storyline where you just didn't go through the whole game and beat everybody. Yeah, you had to go back. So that was actually nice because that kind of changed the whole genre of gaming because there was actually a story that goes with the game instead of just going from one level to the next level. And then
point system.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, it
really
cool.
was. It was a great
instead
game.
of collecting hearts or beating dudes' asses until you reached and got a heart to do a jump kick, you can go into stores and buy yourself more energy, buy yourself, books to read about some kind of rapid, fast dragon kick. That sounded like, again, you were outside, sweeping the streets with the heavy-duty broom is the kick. But, and then it just sounds like when the guy was getting hit, it sounds like you were trying to unplug a drain with a plunger.
The funny thing, speaking about ROM hacks, there's actually one for River City Ransom called Pussy City Pimps.
Yeah.
You go around and go like in shops and buy blowjobs.
Just start slapping people.
It just goes. It's basically just like a little bit of a model hack and a text hack.
Yeah,
So it was pretty funny.
The girls walking down the street with their skirt and they got their flaps hanging out.
Let's get on to our favorite game. I'd start off by saying Battletoads is probably my favorite game for Nintendo. There is a lot of them. I could probably name off 10, but I just thought that game was just amazing. The music and the battles, I really liked that. It was one of my favorite games of all time.
I gotta say, man, it's way too hard for me to pick. So
yeah, it is. It's
I can't really decide on just one. It's kind of like those chips, you can't eat just one. You gotta.
Well, just give us three.
it's probably a top 10. Yeah, top 10.
I mean, I get that. But
just like anyone else, I played the shit out of Contra. I mean, I played nonstop, but I guess the one that really gave me, a challenge and pissed me off a lot was probably Castlevania. With Frankenstein with the little the flea he has on his shoulder, you gotta hit it and stuff or whatever. I mean, it was really difficult, but satisfying when you got further and further. But I guess if I really, really had to choose one, I really liked a lot was probably Rhaegar. Rhaegar was kind of like a Castlevania, but with a little bit more freedom.
is that the one where you threw the shield?
Just
Oh yeah, that was.
it was pretty good. Me and Wayne got into it big time, and then it was like when you beat a boss because it took you so long to finally find one. It was pretty satisfying. I guess, and then the last one, since you said 3, I'm gonna say The Legend of Zelda.
Oh yeah, that was fucking awesome.
You can never get enough. What was cool was that you can actually pick up where you left off. So when you're getting yelled at or punished, when you were a kid because you didn't do your homework or you did something to your brother or your sister, you can come back later and pick up where you left off. That was the only cool thing about that game.
Well, I gotta say my favorite was probably the first Batman, the '89 Batman. And what was really crazy for me is I tried for years to beat that game, and I always wanted to beat it legitimately. I never wanted to use Game Genie, but I wanted to actually have the achievement to beating that game, and I did it actually probably about 2 months before I started this channel. And I was so surprised. It's funny because you get to the fucking Joker, and the Joker's like 3 times the size of Batman, and he takes so fucking long to kill, right? And at the end of the game, it's nothing like the movie. In the movie, it's kind of like ambiguous. He wraps the line around his foot.
They're making that. They made him bigger to make up for that big ass gun he had from the movie. So trying to counterbalance.
But when you beat the game on the NES, he straight up just fucking grabs him and throws him the fuck off the roof.
It was beautiful though.
It was fucking awesome.
That's why NES was so much better than these systems like today, because you can't. Do anything, it might hurt somebody's feelings nowadays, but it was so good to watch, watch him plummet all the way to the ground because Batman threw him off instead of wasting a cable to hang him off a helicopter. Just throw him off, save your equipment.
Never dance with the devil in the pit. But yeah, it was cool because I wanted to always see the ending, and I didn't want to cheapen it by looking at it online. I wanted to actually do it myself, and that was the probably the only game I've ever had like a lot of trouble playing to the end to beat it.
Yeah, I like it stuck to the walls like Ninja Gaiden and
Yeah,
shit,
it was fucking cool.
Gaiden or whatever, how the fuck you say it. It was pretty cool, man. It just, it was a Batman game was pretty fun. That was one of my top 10 games that I had when I was a kid. And then that corny ass Ninja Turtles. I mean, it was so horrible, man. I mean, I thought Ninja Turtles was like a big thing when I was growing up. Besides Masters of the Universe, Ninja Turtles comes out, everybody's dying to get it, and we get it and take it home. We're going, well, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, it was kind of just like Transformers. Like they made the toy first, and then, but I mean, the Ninja Turtles was a comic book first, and then they made like kid-friendly toys with it, and that sprung the series, or vice versa. But all right, so we got the favorites out of the way.
I got mine in the original box.
What was the most hated game? The one that you hate, but you can't stop playing. What was that for you, Wayne?
I'd have to think about that a little bit.
The fucking library's massive, man.
I mean, like the one that you think
Yeah.
about, you're like it's like the dread. You just can't help but play it, but you fucking hate yourself. Like I could say me, I would say. And I'm probably gonna get some heat for this, but it's Punch Out, and it's not the Mike Tyson Punch Out, it's the original one, and that's because I can't get that far. I get to the fat dude, the King Kong or King Hippo, and he just whoops my ass every time. I'm a fucking 32-year-old man. I still haven't gotten to the point where I got to the last guy.
You gotta wait for that special punch, hit him in the mouth, and then right.
Well, it's not the first iteration of him; it's the second one, the super, King George or whatever the fuck his name is. That's the one that gets me. It's the second one.
All the dudes are the same except for the last dude.
Yeah, it's like
Mr. Dream or some shit.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just the second run because you go through the list twice, and it's like the second fat dude with the bandage. He's the one that always gets me. So that's I love the game.
You only fought him once.
I thought you fought him. Well, I'm talking about the original.
Maybe
Maybe it's Mike Tyson.
Oh yeah, I don't know I never played that one.
I mean,
maybe I do get beat the first time. I can't remember.
He's the only one.
I like playing the game.
Well, him and the fucking the magician dude who likes to have the crystal on his dome and spins around it.
Well, maybe I get beat by his first iteration. I love the game. I just can't beat it. It's one of those. My brain and my fingers don't work in the same way. So
there's a lot of them you fight to come into the new play.
All right, Wayne, what do you got?
I found one here, and I absolutely hate this game. I'll probably never play it again, and it's baseball. I hated that game. It seems it had a glitch in that game too, because if you were doing well, eventually you'd have a guy run from first to third, you know what I mean? And the umpire would run with him to make sure that, no one touched him in the process. So, that game definitely sucks. I'll never play that game again. I mean, it's just brutal because the bat looks like a hot dog, and whenever you were to squinch it up like you were going to hit a grand slam, you would just hit a ground ball to first and you were thrown out. And, so yeah, that's my most hated game ever.
I gotta tell you, the one game I hated playing.
Sound effects too, man. The sound effects sound like those '80s toys, man. And then, do the bouncing and shit.
I think the one game I hated playing against either one of you and was the college hoops or whatever it is. You just go out to the fucking corner, and you jump and you shoot and you go out of bounds and you come back in and you shoot it and like sinks three
For
points.
Nintendo? What, double dribble?
No, I don't know if it's double dribble. I can't remember.
Maybe
Hoops, I think it was. Or like you go to shoot and you run like you're going out of bounds and you shoot and you go out of bounds and you get pushed back in bounds, and when the guy lands he throws the ball and sinks the 3-pointer like every fucking time.
Yeah,
and it's like you guys used to fucking do that, and it's like I hated playing 2-player games.
I used to cheat with Dave on the NC play action football. He'll tell you all about it because you could do an onside kick, and it just takes the guys forever to get there, and you just run up and get the ball. I mean.
And they did that same shit with Madden on the Super Nintendo where you kick the ball normally and your one guy on the far side always runs down the field and catches the ball and it's touchdown. It's like, I didn't even get a chance.
Yeah, so there was little glitches in the game, and you figure them out as you go along. I'm sure every game has them.
Yeah, they didn't have no patchability back then, so it was just released as is. And it's like they might do like some iteration, like if say the game's popular enough and it sells 1 million copies or something, they'll release like a you know, like a 1.5 version, like it's updated and some of the glitches may be fixed, but most of the time it was just sold as is.
I guess I'll probably say my game that I hated, but I still like it, but I hated it, was Predator. I got to play with a pink Arnold. You know, and again, really horrible sound effects when he did a punch. It I can't even think of a description of how that punch sounded, but it was just like, you know, it was horrible. And then you get to the big level where the game looked a lot cooler, but it was just like, you know, pink background and then Arnold's color he should have been.
Yeah, he looks like Bret the Hitman Hart otherwise, you know.
You know, but
the man, the myth, the legend.
You know, the game's pissed you off because, you know, you're sitting there getting on these levels and then you walk up to them and you can walk right through them and fall to your death. It's like, man, what?
Yeah, and then like if you ain't paying attention and you hit start game, instead of continue, you gotta start all the way from the
there was a lot of shit that didn't make sense. It's like the second level when you get into the dark area, it looks like you were like this white virus fighting all these other little viruses that are coming at you. It's like I felt like I went into from Predator to like a medical school game.
I gotta say that the game I liked a lot, but the sound really got to me was Terminator 2. Because like you're walking and it's like you don't get no guns at the beginning, so it's just like doosh, 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 doosh. The dude dies and
the same punch in Predator.
Yeah, it's like it's all it does is doosh, 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 doosh. You do that like fucking 10. It's like a Terminator has to punch a dude 10 fucking times to kill him. Yeah. You know, it's like so some of the noises they do to get kind of annoying. What about the jump from NES to Super NES? What was your first reaction to that? Like, did you think games look fucking amazing or?
Well, I jumped right to Sega Genesis. I didn't even give Super Nintendo a try. I thought the gameplay was way better on Sega Genesis.
Yeah, it was.
The controller was a whole lot better. And Super Nintendo grew on me as time went. Yeah. We didn't get into it. It was just like Sonic the Hedgehog, Streets of Rage. Yeah, it was just better gameplay, although it didn't sustain its value over time. I just think it was just, and Road Rash, let's not mention, forget to mention Road Rash. Road Rash 2 was phenomenal. I mean, you're punching cops off of motorcycles and hitting them over the head with chains. Not that we want to do that in real life, but in a video game, I mean, it's kind of fun. But Super Nintendo was still an awesome system. I just think at the time that it came out, Sega Genesis just had an edge over Super Nintendo because of the quantity of games. The games were better. There was games that were just exclusive with Sega Genesis, and it was just an all around better game.
Well, the thing that kind of pissed me off is I played Mortal Kombat for the first time on Sega Genesis. It was Mortal Kombat 2, right? And I had just the 3-button controller, so I had to push start to fucking change it, and that kind of pissed me off because it didn't have enough buttons, you know. So I ended up playing Mortal Kombat 2 on the Super Nintendo and had all the buttons. You do the high kick, low kick, you know, all that shit. So to me, I think, you know, I had the luxury of being able to play both because Dave owned both, so I was able to, you know, I was a young guy. I couldn't afford my own shit because I was like 6 years old. Actually, I was thinking I was like 3 when the systems came out. But I always preferred the Super Nintendo just because that controller, you have more buttons and you can do more shit with it. But some games like sounded better on the Super Nintendo, some games sounded better on the Genesis. But I mean...
But the Nintendo was so sensitive. I mean, really sensitive with the graphics. Like, you know, for a good example, Mortal Kombat or
RoboCop versus Terminator.
I mean, like on Sega Genesis, it was a bloodbath. Yeah. On place or Super Nintendo, it was like, you know, he hit me.
It was rated G.
I'll just fall down. It was like there was no fatalities and shit. It was like, here, let's play friendship. Friendship.
Get over here. Give me a hug.
But again, I did the same thing with Wayne. We just went straight to Sega Genesis. But I will say what got me to go over to Nintendo was when they released Donkey Kong Country. I was kind of impressed by the graphics, so, you know, I jumped over and, you know, playing like Donkey Kong and, you know, 1, 2 and all that on Nintendo. You know, this looked completely different, and it had that Sonic the Hedgehog look, but way better. And I went over and I tried it, and, you know, I got into some, you know, when I jumped over that Wayne jumped on too, we started playing like games like Stunt Racer FX, the car game with different vehicles that have eyeballs and shit, just like the cars
Super
moving.
FX chip.
Yeah, that was fun.
The cars moving. It's just like you're going through tunnels and you're driving underwater and shit. And it was fun, and we were challenging ourselves. So, we kept playing, each vehicle until we like unlocked other vehicles, and then we just kept, racing and trying to get things going and unlocking shit. It was cool. Then all of a sudden, Sega Genesis came out with like a virtual racer or RX or some shit. I can't remember what it was. It was some kind of formula game.
That was Sega CD.
No, it was on Sega Genesis.
And what was it about?
It was that Formula car game.
Was it hard drive?
No, it wasn't.
It was Virtual Racers. We talked about
something like that. Yeah.
And it's like it was 3D game, but it's like you need to have the. It was either a 32X game or it was a Sega CD. That 3D couldn't have done it.
It was a big cartridge. It wasn't the normal Sega Genesis cartridge, but yeah, they did have it on Sega CD and stuff like that. But they also did have it for those that didn't have Sega CD. Then of course Race Driving came out because we played the shit out of that at the arcade, and that was fun. And then very soon after that they came out with Race Driving, which gave you more tracks and more choices. And then we tried it on Nintendo or Super Nintendo, and it was horrible. It had maybe a few more tracks or whatever. I think there was like another track or something, but it was pretty bad. It was pretty much almost like the what the heck was that other one? There was another one. It was really horrible.
A racing game?
No, I can't remember. I'm thinking about 64. I really hate that system. I mean, it was basically like a little hop, skip, and a jump. But I was thinking about that Superman game, but that's on 64.
That game sucks. That game is horrible, and it's like I understand, if you don't like N64, but I do. But what is we're going back to Super Nintendo Genesis area. What is your favorite and your least favorite for that? I mean, if you're attentive.
For Super Nintendo, I mean, there's a lot. I don't really have a favorite because I didn't play it as much as I did the Nintendo, but I enjoyed F-Zero was a good one. Pilot Wings, where you can either choose to open your chute or just go right through a building and then just try again the next time.
Shoot out of a cannon and shit. I remember that. Douche.
There's a lot of them, and you can't forget about Street Fighter 2. I mean, that was decent. It was nice because I believe they have a couple versions of it. They have the regular version and the turbo version, and if you had that remote, you can beat anybody with E Honda. And just turn up the thing and just start swinging your arms all over the place, and even if you were blocking him, he was still taking energy away from you. It was
M. Bison was
yeah.
That was a fucking like a cheat boss. You know what I mean? It's like you would hit him, and it's like a little fucking millimeter. If his energy goes away, he hits you one time, it's like a quarter of your health.
Another one that was pretty good was that Super Contra or whatever it was. It was pretty good. Big ass turtle comes out at the end, trying to bite you and shit, and shit flies by and blows the ground off underneath you. You gotta hang off the rails and shit. I mean, that was, and I think you can actually have like two different guns you can switch back and forth to and shit. I mean, it was pretty cool, that one. And then I think there was a Castlevania one I played too.
There's a couple of decent ones. Of course, the Marios. I think an overlooked one that doesn't get mentioned a lot is Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. To me, that's the most fun game out of all of them. It's like baby Mario finds Yoshi. And it's a good game. I think it's underrated, overlooked, and it's one of those Mario games that are just at the top for Super Nintendo, and then you have the All Stars, and you have Mario All Star and Super Mario World. So they have them both combined. That's another rare game. That's pretty fun too. It's 2 games in one for pretty much the same price.
See, the one game I really like that it's a few people like it, but it's like crazy ass expensive, and it's Earthbound. I thought that was pretty cool. I like the RPGs, like Mario RPG was pretty fun for me, just cause something you can hop into and you can play for a long time, and it gets kind of weird, especially because those games are made in Japan. They kind of have a little bit of a weird way of telling stories and things like that, and they translate it to English, so some of the things don't really make sense, especially toward the later part of the game in Earthbound. It's just like, it's really weird, like you transport your soul into a robot and go back in time and fucking do like an abortion of an evil guy. It's just really fucking weird. It gets really crazy toward the end, and the game's like anywhere between like $200 to $2,000 right now. So it's like, I don't know. That's another thing I want to talk about too, is these fucking game prices are crazy. And I just did a video on N64 games that were outrageous, but the NES and Super NES have some really crazy ass games. And we were talking a little bit before that when the mic wasn't on, that like, if I drop a $60 game, I feel bad. If I drop a fucking $400 game, I'm going to wince every time I think about it. But if a $6,000 game skids across the concrete, I'm going to want to do a swan dive off the Sears Tower into a thumbtack. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I never even heard of Earthbound until just recently, when it was put on the YouTube or web channels or everything. We never heard of that game until much later. I mean, that just something that just Pop-Tart came out and was
I played it over Ronnie's house. Ronnie had it.
But yeah, it was like I said, I got really into the Donkey Kong, and I played the both of them. It was really good. But mostly it was fun. I watched Wayne play a lot of the endless Kid Chameleon.
Yeah.
That game. Yeah, if you're talking Sega Gen, now if we're gonna say a favor for Sega Genesis, that really is Kid Chameleon. It's the game that you can never beat. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
The Ultimate Mario.
And I love that game. That game, yeah. I mean, I can't believe I even forgot about that.
Is that the one with the big head? Looks like fucking Corey Feldman.
No, it's
like
just
little body, big head.
Pick a different.
It's a every level has like a different change. For different, you change over to whatever that one cartoon is out today, where the kid can change into different objects.
I gotta say, speaking about changing and shit, when you're the Sega Genesis games, Ultra Beast was one of my favorite, but that's the game I never beat. Rise from your grave, and you fucking walk up, and you get like bigger and bigger, and
yeah, I played that so much at the arcade, man, that when I got it home, I was just like,
Yeah, I never did it. Another game
it's different.
That actually like enlisted a fucking emotional response from me. The first game I ever did that, I think it was Splatterhouse 2 or 3, where if you're not fast enough, your wife gets like fucking mutilated in the beginning.
Yeah.
That was one of the games that like first got me like to have an emotional response. I was like, oh fuck, I gotta try again. And I kept doing it until I actually saved her, and then at the end of the fucking game, you gotta save your son, and he's like fucking in a room with like a big ass possessed teddy bear that like rips out fucking like weird bone arms. And
I remember that.
That was a fucking cool game, but
it's like you're fighting against the coronavirus. Save your woman from the coronavirus. If you don't, she turns into.
That's a hell of a fucking coronavirus, man. It looks like you're walking through hell, and she's like all fucking.
If you really think about it, there's a lot of games that came out that they made movies out of.
Yeah. And vice versa. I mean, a lot of like Batman was one of them where they made that game. I mean, they probably would have made a Batman game either way, but they used the movie as a template. But
all right. Now speaking of that, Batman Returns on Super Nintendo was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was fucking awesome.
But the Batman on Returns on Sega Genesis was pretty cool, but it was fucking complicated.
Yeah, it was like you get shot by a fucking statue, and there's no way to fucking.
The Super Nintendo kind of followed the movie a little bit.
I think the Super Nintendo is actually a remake of the NES, isn't it?
I don't think so.
Yeah, like the Return of the Joker, and then they made it again on Genesis with like 8 or 16-bit graphics or something.
Yeah, I got
that. I never even played it. all this talk, I really want to get a Sega Genesis. I always thought that was the best system, but from a collectability standpoint, it just doesn't hold value like a Nintendo. A Nintendo is always going to be valuable and stands through the test of time because I just think they're just more innovative and they come out with better ideas, whereas PlayStation and Xbox are just kind of doing the same thing over and over. Nintendo always finds.
So the problem really is it's not that value. It's just that it's kind of like the 1968, 70 Dodge Charger. It wasn't really that high. But when that Fast and the Furious movie came out, because everybody wanted the same car, that value of that car jumped up 2-3 times more. Now what it is that why Sega Genesis is so low is because everybody's not going for it. They're going for.
They're also not around anymore, so there's no real.
They're going for Nintendo. Nintendo 64 is not around anymore. Nintendo's not around anymore. But it's just that people are going for the older games and Nintendo games that mostly a lot of people had. Like Sega Genesis was pretty much you had to be having a job or something, or your parents had to be somewhat loaded in order for you to get that system, and because there's no normal family could get systems like that. Like my dad busted his ass and he got me the Nintendo system. That's why I'm so connected to the Nintendo system, because it was actually the first console I ever got to own. And basically Nintendo started with me when I was a kid. When my mother and my grandmother were in Jersey, she would clean for these rich people, and these dudes, she had like 6-7 kids, and every single one of these dudes were awesome. They had their own room. They invited me over, and the system just came out, and these dudes got a stack of 40 games. And they're like, here, man, check this out, man. You can play this, man. He goes, we're going to go to the beach. I was thinking to myself, maybe I want to go to the beach. But then I started playing the game. As my mom and my grandmother were cleaning the house, man, and I couldn't stop playing. I was like, man, this is fun as hell. And I started playing with the gun, playing Hogan's Alley, shooting targets, watching them spinning around and shit. I mean, the sound effects was funny as shit, but I played so many arcades that when I got to be home and play that was cool. And I think my mom saw how addicted I was. I think it was that Christmas, my father brought home the console. And he even got into it too with that side pocket, man. He loved playing side pocket. It was a pool table game, and it was like, we'd play for forever. And then when he was done, he'd go and take his nap, and then I busted in RC Pro-Am. And I just, it's a game I brought over Wayne's house, and we played and collect the numbers or letters to spell Nintendo so we get the next vehicle and shit. And it was just pretty badass, man. It was so I got a little more connection to the Nintendo than any other system. But if it was the same way with Sega Genesis, there's somebody out there that played Sega Genesis to the death, and the only reason, if there is value in it, which there is, it's because that one person buys the shit out of everything Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
That's
so. Speaking of collections, though, I know Wayne's probably gonna have you and me beat, but what is the most valuable game in your collection from those consoles, Wayne?
Mine is Snow Brothers for NES. I bought it about 4 years ago. Graded, and negotiated on the price. It was about $3,500, and negotiated for $2,950. I just had a feeling that it was going to be one of those games that if I held on to for 10 years, maybe I could get into one of those bidding wars down the road. I did get an offer of $10,000 on it, but I still didn't take it.
Damn.
I'm just not interested. I think at this point someone could probably offer me 20 and I turn it down, because I just believe that it's going to have so much more value. And what's happening with these games, it's creating what's called a bubble effect, and a lot of these games are going to tear off and hit the bottom, because what's happening is people are getting their games graded, and then they're coming back selling them for $15,000. I believe Donkey Kong 3 sold for $15,000 graded, and that game's not even nowhere near that. So people are going into their closet and saying, hey, let me get my game graded, and then they're going and selling it and maybe getting 16, 17. So they're creating a false market. And a lot of them cheap games, people are selling them now because they know once this bubble effect takes place, a lot of them games are going to smash. There's going to be a lot that are going to be worth money, but them like top 10 rare games are going to really hold their value because they didn't make a lot in the production run because it was towards the end of the run for Nintendo. So the older games are they're worth money. It just depends on what title it is.
Who's willing to buy it too.
And who's willing to buy it, and that bumps the market up too. But it may not crash ever. It may just be one of them phenomenons. But it's like Bitcoin.
I think as long as there's like generations like us of gamers around that are willing to pay the money for retro games, there's always going to be a market for them.
I think it
There
actually
is.
just sucks, you know,
There
when
is.
you get the game graded. You know, I could see getting a card or, you know, something that's, you know, you don't play with, you get it graded. But I think when you start grading games and it's basically stuck in a sealed box for the rest of its life, I think that really takes out the point of that. You know, I think it's like, you know, going to buy the Superman comic book and you want to read it, so you have to buy two. One you can open and one you have to leave sealed. So if you want to trade it in or something later down the line.
Well, there's always a market for it, though.
But
That's
get
the
your
thing.
point, though.
That's the
I
thing.
wouldn't
There's a
want to
market.
pay $3,000
You know,
for
like,
something I'm never
like me,
gonna
I
play.
got the original Zelda, you know, in the original box with the original instruction booklet, all the original plastics and everything in there, and I could take it out and play it if I want to. You know, I think it's. I mean, I have a couple Nintendo games that are still in the box with the instruction booklet that was you know, but it's just still nice to be able to, like, okay, I'm thinking about Zelda, let's go play. I can pull out my Nintendo and pull it out of the box.
I don't have to unsheath the $2,000 fucking
You know,
game cartridge.
I'm careful with it. You know, I'm like Indiana Jones. You know, taking it out of the box slowly so I don't let it drop it or I stick it in my system. I'm not scraping it. You know, so there's no scratches on the cartridge. I mean, it's like really pristine, gold plated, and it's just like, you know, when I play it, I just enjoy it and I put it back in the box. And
So what is your rarest game you got, or most expensive, or you know, whatever?
that would
whichever
probably
one?
be. I don't know. I got quite a few in the box, but I'd probably say that the Legend of Zelda, in its original box that I have, that's probably, you know, up there. But it's nothing like what Wayne got with the sealed and graded. I mean, if I had that game sealed and graded, man, I bet you it'd be right up
Gotta
there.
be up
But,
there.
you know,
That's one of the best NES games in probably all of our opinion, because I mean it was really cool. It was unique. You know, you had that map. You know, you can
The
go
Zelda.
through- yeah,
Actually,
that was
I actually played it. I think it's impossible to play without watching a YouTube video to find out where all the secrets are, because it's just one of those games that doesn't really tell you.
Well, you definitely
where
need to
things
keep a
are
game
at.
genius, because you can get like infinite bombs. You can throw it all
Throw it
walls,
around,
and,
exactly, yeah,
You know,
that's-
you definitely need that if you want to play it like
Yeah,
legitimately.
it's a
I
great
think
game.
you're gonna have a big problem. You're gonna need some Nintendo power help or whatever. But I think the rarest game I got is Conker's Bad Fur Day for the N64. I got that for $85. You know, there's nothing really that unique about it. I mean, it's an M-rated game. I think I said that in the video I did yesterday. That's the one I still have in my possession. The other one is the Turok 2 Seeds of Evil or Rage Wars, I think it is. That's the gray cartridge instead of the black one. That's worth a little bit of money. But I know Dave doesn't have much to say. But going on to the next generation of systems, the N64.
well, great.
You know, to me, I thought it was cool because I grew up with the Super Nintendo, and when I saw that leap to 3D, I thought it was really cool. So I gotta say, the first game I played and still have, you know, anytime I think of the N64, the first game I think of was GoldenEye. You know,
I remember you used to play that all the time.
yeah, no odd job. Yeah. Well, what was? Did you like any games for the N64, Wayne?
I liked a lot of them. I like the fact that it does have a place in history because it was the last cartridge that came out for the system before they went on the GameCube. So it has that factor to it. So I feel like Nintendo gave us one last taste before they moved on to.
It was that last hurrah.
Yeah,
last
I'm actually happy that they fucking went on. Like, Genesis going back a little bit, they had the hard cases. It's like anything from NES, Super NES, N64 was always cardboard fucking cases. They got ripped up or stained.
Yeah.
And GameCube came out, they had hard cases, finally. and it was like, you know, that was something that was a huge improvement for me. But actually, the system-wise, the 3D aspect of it was really good. The Rogue Squadron was a game I fucking played. I played that game so much that I actually ended up breaking the cartridge from going in and out of the fucking system so many times.
For Nintendo 64.
Yeah, I like the 64. That for you know, it was like the Legend of Zelda. They had a lot of games that you can actually have it built in memory.
Yeah.
And then when you went to the next, finally the new generation with the CDs and stuff, you had to buy the memory card, which was always separate.
Yeah, they had a memory pack for the N64. It had a weird ass controller, but like it's weird because like when I was a kid, the original controller it fit well in my hands, but now I got fucking lunchbox hands, so I got to get that retro controller. It's sitting right there. It's the clear one. It's more modern. It feels kind of like more like a PlayStation or maybe more like an Xbox controller. It's called a retro fighter or retro brawler or something like that.
But the buttons feel
Yeah,
good.
yeah, it's right there if you want to pick it up and feel it. When it's it plugs right in.
Shit!
Damn,
Man, dude, I'm at the.
Damn.
And I think I enjoyed.
It's all safe. It's all good, guys.
The game I played a lot was the WCW NWO Revenge.
That was a fucking awesome game. That
I
No
just
Mercy
like,
was fucking sweet.
I just like grabbing the weapons, like the huge stop sign, and smashing a guy's face in and watch him get dizzy as his head busted.
Yeah, that was great. You know,
Break
now
the
you
head
bring
open
that
and
up.
the crowd goes, ah!
Dude gets dizzy and falls down, and you know, wait for the guy to try to get up, and then you hit him again. It's like, oh, this is great. Then you can pick him up, put the stop sign down in the middle of the ring, and then do a suplex right on the stop sign.
You know, I can't remember who it was, but it was like, it was me and you, and we had like a three-way match or something, a fatal three-way, and we just kept beating the shit out of somebody for like 45 minutes. The dude was all fucked up. I can't remember who it was now, but that was funny as shit, because like I spread a bunch of shit out in the ring, and it was like Dave power bombed the dude, and all this shit. It's like a lot of it pushed out of the way, but some of the stuff stayed there because I mean it was N64, so it probably couldn't handle all that collision and physics and shit. But we just piled a bunch of shit in the ring, and he just like fuck. We just beat the shit out. I can't even remember who it was, but we beat the shit out of the dude for like probably 45 fucking minutes straight. And he was all bloody, and like he like usually in that game you go down to red and you slowly recuperate back to orange. The dude was like at 0 health the entire time. He wouldn't get up or nothing, you know.
I think it was Disco Inferno.
It was just funny shit.
He wasn't dancing anymore after that.
No, he wasn't even fucking standing anymore. We beat his ass so bad that he just laid there. He never even got the fuck back up, you know. But I gotta say, probably we touched on it a little bit, but my most hated game on the N64 is that fucking Superman 64 Blue.
I never even played it. Was that cheesy?
Dude, I asked for it on.
I wouldn't even play it if it came in a box of cereal.
It was fucking horrible. A game came out in like May or March or something like that, and I asked my mom for it, and she's like, "Well, maybe you'll get it for your birthday." And she gave it for my birthday, so she bought it recently after I asked her, but didn't give it to me to my birthday. So I made it a point, and I said this in one of my videos. I was like, I didn't talk to my friends about it, and I didn't read any magazines, and I just waited. I waited it out. I put that game in my cartridge, and my whole birthday was anticipating playing that fucking game, and it sucked so bad that I remember that as the worst fucking birthday of my entire life, because it was just horrible, man. The gameplay wasn't really that bad. It was glitchy and shit, but the fucking rings when you flew through them, and it's like you miss one, and it kicks you back to the fucking menu if you don't have a memory card pack in there. It'll just boot you back. At least the version I did. I know that they came out with other versions later on. You could just push A and you start from a checkpoint, but I didn't have the memory pack, so it kicked me back to the fucking start menu.
Yeah, I didn't have 64 very long. I basically went from basically straight to PlayStation after that. You know, I went over to my cousin's house, my cousin's house, and they had the first game I ever played, and I knew I had to get it, and I was working. I was only, I was pretty young still, and I started working with my uncle doing construction work, which I really hated, but I had to sacrifice. I had to sacrifice myself. Kind of like the old Nintendo 64 commercials where the guy had to work and he said, "Here's your paycheck for $199.95." He goes,
I quit.
I quit.
I remember that commercial.
But
Toys R Us, like, yeah, I quit. I got it.
But when you work for family, it's like the musical instrument, the harp. You just keep hearing it. Ding, ding, ding. Come on back, I need you again. Anyway, so I got the PlayStation, and that game, the first game I played on PlayStation was Resident Evil.
Awesome game.
Yeah,
Fucking legendary.
That's what got me to, sacrifice my part of my childhood.
It wasn't that good. It wasn't that good.
To working. Well, now today, yeah, it's not that good. But back
Oh,
then,
back then, I'm just flying around.
back then, that was like the top flight, man. You're playing horror games weren't really known then. You had
Especially long ass.
yeah,
games.
what Dracula on Sega CD, which wasn't all that great. But when you played Resident Evil on PlayStation, man, it was a whole new world. And I was like, man, this is nuts. You got a zombie, biting somebody's face off, and then turn around, looks at you, and looks at you like a bag of chips, and he wants to eat you. And you get to shoot
Barbecue flavor.
You get to shoot him and shit.
But I mean, the really cool thing, and I touched on this when I did a Resident Evil 2 video for the N64. It was a modern marvel when they actually ported that game from the PlayStation 2 to the N64, because each one of the discs on the PS1 was like, I want to say like 240 megabytes for each disc, and they had to cram that and consolidate it and all that shit just to get it to fit onto one cartridge. So it's like the first version to have just one of itself, like instead of like two discs, it was on one cartridge. You're gonna have both campaigns. Yeah, the FMVs were compressed and they didn't sound as good, but the weird thing is, even though all that information was compressed on the N64, it actually had Dolby Digital surround sound capability, which I don't think even the console even fucking had at the time, unless you got some kind of adapter. And then it had actual higher gameplay resolution. But the only thing that suffered really bad was the FMVs were shrunken about 50%, and the sound of them was kind of staticky and kept bottoming out the mic because it was such a low grade audio sample. But I mean, it was really crazy with Angel Studios, which is now Rockstar San Diego. Did in that 12-month span. They consolidated that game and fit it onto a cartridge. The cartridge is fucking heavy. You could probably like throw it through a fucking window and break it. It's like a fucking brick. But
well, speaking of N64, there was another one that kind of, basically they used it to make another main game, was Winback.
Yeah, that was a good game.
It was basically just used as a crutch to make another game. And you'll start seeing, especially as you get older, a lot of games, make certain games to for early developments, see how people like it, and then they'll add it into the main game that's coming out. You'll notice that as you get, as you're a gamer, you get older. You start seeing them making games that were just for like a crutch or just a hop and a skip for the next game that was coming. That was a major game that was coming out. So
what do you think that Winback was a prototype for?
I think they used a lot of the Metal Gear moves, stuff like that. I wouldn't know exactly. I would probably say Winback was probably like a little sketch, probably towards the game to help with Splinter Cell was one of them.
Splinter Cell was a good game.
That was there's always like one game that kind of helps, other games, bigger company games. They put out the cheap brand like Winback, which was fun in its own. And then they put out the more expensive game with the same kind of physics.
Yeah, same kind of overall gameplay. One thing I want to touch on is I asked the N64 super group on Facebook what was their funnest and best memories with the console. And Joanne Bills Golden said she liked Mario Kart. She said Mario Kart all the way. She always enjoyed kicking her husband's ass playing it. You guys remember playing?
We said Pilot Wings.
Pilot Wings is one of the most
Underrated.
And Mario was pretty good on the 64 also, but who doesn't like Mario? I mean, you play from the very beginning. I mean, shit, they took Mario, they redid Super Mario Brothers on the Nintendo Wii. You know, that
was amazing.
I
took a week off of work, actually. I'm not kidding you, ask Tasha. I took 1 week vacation time and sat and played that whole thing all week long. And ate ramen noodles and hot dogs.
Yeah, I mean, that
goes back on Section 8.
That was an awesome remake, you know, it was an awesome remake, and the cool thing is you could play at the same time instead of waiting for one to die and one to then the next one can play. You both can play at the same time. I think all 4 can play at the same time. I think it was. And Super Mario Brothers. If I'm not.
Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario 64 was one player. There was like a rumor.
We're talking about Wii.
We're talking about the Wii.
Oh, Wii.
Wii.
You know, the brand new when they redid the first one with all the
and that was amazing.
All the original characters, man. You could play all 4 of them at the same time, man. I like just like Wayne did. You know, it was one of those things that made work longer because you're dying to go home to play the game, and it's just like, man, I feel like I've been here for an hour and 2 minutes went by.
And I haven't felt that way probably since Nintendo. Like, seriously, I was dying for that game to come out, and I mean, it was sensational.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it made some. You know, Nintendo has a lot of hit and misses, but I mean, they overall, I mean, they make some pretty decent games. Guy Man said he liked Pokemon Stadium, and I've never really played any Pokemon games.
I was never into Pokemon.
I played one, and that was the Jamie bought one. It was Pokemon Snap or something like that, where you take pictures and shit. That was the only.
I'm gonna say, you know, Pokemon to me is like, you know, with the back in the day when I was younger, the Cabbage Patch Kids. You know, that's what Pokemon is to me in this era.
Yeah.
You know, Cabbage Patch, that was real big. Everybody loved the Cabbage Patch Kids. Then we went to the Garbage Pail Kids, which I liked. You know, the Garbage Pail Kids. We go buy cards and, you know, stuff like that. But that Pokemon was like a whole era, kind of like that. You know.
And Dave Tedman, he said he liked Paper Mario, which was a lot. I agree with that one. I mean, I liked Super Mario 64, it was cool. But Paper Mario on the N64 is kind of more of the classic type of gameplay, you know, more 2D, flat, you know, where you can move somewhat through a 3D environment for some stages, but it had more of a 2D characters in a 3D world. I don't know if you guys played that.
I never played it.
It's
like
one of those crazy
the rapper like shit.
Yeah, something like that. But it was like it's one of those crazy ass expensive games now. You're you know, a lot of these games, if you just want to play them and just have them in your collection, you're probably better off getting a repro than spending anywhere between, you know, a couple $100 to a couple $1,000 just to get a copy of a game that, you know, you're going to be not wanting to drop, or God forbid your kid gets a hold of it and starts chewing on it or something.
Yeah, there was another game. I can't remember what console it was on, man. I got that CRS.
Can't remember shit.
The Simpsons Bart's Nightmare.
That was Super Nintendo.
You know, you had to go grab the
Genesis,
the papers and shit going down a windy street and shit, and you see the paper tumbling on the ground.
I've never beaten that game. I know you like can jump into pieces of paper and you do little mini games, but I always got a D or an F. I never got an A, you know, because like you fall asleep doing your homework.
Yeah,
you know? I never got an
A. I used to watch Wayne play a lot of Bart versus the Space Mutants. You know, where you got, you know.
That game was annoying.
Everything that's purple, you got to, or red or something like that. You got to paint
the mall section sucked where you got to jump on lollipops and shit.
That was probably the most difficult level. I kind of just got tired of that game. It was just too much for me.
All right, fuck it. I mean, let's keep going. What was the jump from PS? What we talked about PS1.
I'm talking about anything, man. Anything that has to do with games, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, man, I just wish they would finish it. I believe it's a jump between PlayStation 1, 2, and I think 3. No, I think 2. Just 2. It was the Legacy of Kain series.
Absolutely. Awesome game.
Games.
games.
All-
I like the Soul Reaver. I mean, I know you're more probably Blood Omen.
I played the Blood Omen.
And all that.
I hated Blood Omen, but I still enjoyed the story to that.
I like the Soul Reaver.
And I played Soul Reaver came out, which they said was also Legacy of Kain. I was like, man, it's a whole new world. I was like, cool, man. And then, well, because then I see Kain on the throne at the Blood Omen. Kain gets the throne or gets the pillar of balance for his main chair or whatever. And then, you go right into Soul Reaver, and they just fuck up Raziel, and then all of a sudden Raziel, it's the story, and they came out with another Blood Omen 2 or something, and then they made I want to say maybe 2 or 3 Soul Reavers.
I want to say they made 2, and then they made Legacy of Kain Defiance.
So I'm not. I think
And
there was a third one.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I can't really remember because I want to say it was just the only 2 that were on the PS2 were Soul Reaver and Soul Reaver 2, and then Legacy of Kain Defiance. And Defiance fucking ended on a cliffhanger, and it pisses me off. It was really cool, but I don't know if the development team or the company or whatever it is. I think Crystal Dynamic may have the rights to it now. But yeah, they just did a remake of that. Started off with Legacy of Kain and bumped it up with modern graphics and retold the entire story. I'd fucking jump on board. But I want to say that they just on the PS2 and Xbox they had Soul Reaver 2 and Legacy of Kain Defiance and I think they had Blood Omen 2 was on there too, where you can block and the fucking goes dun dun dun, the music goes with the blocks and shit. So I mean that was kind of cool. I think really the PS2 was jump from PS1 to PS2 was fucking incredible. You know what I mean? Even still the jump. PS2 even looks good today still with HD or HDMI adapters. But yeah, you jump to you look at Resident Evil 2 and 3, and then you look at 4 or Outbreak, and you put those side by side, it's fucking night and day. But
I'm just looking shit up here.
The gaming kind of dropped for me after I would say probably PlayStation 2. I just kind of seeing where they were going, and I didn't like spending $60 for a game, and then they're like, hold up, there's more game, you got to spend another $50. After that happened, I mean, I pretty much just got
DLC
turned off.
Shit, yeah.
I just got turned off. I mean, I'm an old school guy. I will go as high as maybe Nintendo Wii, and then that's it for me. I like the old school games. They're just close to my heart, and they're just more original, and I just feel like they just suck the fun out of it, from the consumer standpoint, because it's just all about $1 now, and not about the people that are actually buying the game. So
I completely agree. When I sit here and I think about retro gaming, I draw a line in the sand from PS2 backward. That's retro to me.
Yeah. Here's that Legacy of Kain series. At first it was Blood Omen, Legacy of Kain.
That was one.
Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, and it was Soul Reaver 2, Blood Omen 2. Then it was Defiance, and then it was Nosgoth.
Nosgoth was the online.
It was a first-person shooter.
It was like an MMO online game that sucked.
Yeah, that'd be an awesome game to see you guys play. I remember watching you guys play it.
It was really story heavy. You know what I mean? It was a great game.
Yeah,
my one buddy, he's pretty much like a brother to me. He loved watching me play Tomb Raider. Played all the Tomb Raiders all the way to the Revelation, from the first one to Revelation, and he was amazed at how my game reactions of how to slide down, jump to grab the wall, flip over, turn this way, and it's I didn't really take a second. He's like, dude, how the hell did you do that? I was like, man, it's just I'm used to playing the game. And then I think the other series I liked was the whole Resident Evil series.
Yeah, that was a good series.
Until it started getting to about the fourth one, where you're playing with Leon, and the guy's walking around talking about driving an SUV and
go Halo.
And go Halo. It's hey man, we're playing that Resident Evil. We're not playing Halo.
Driving an SUV.
And then the fifth one, the fifth one started having zombies that started having like, plant faces, or they look like the creature from.
Well, there was plant creatures back in 2. I mean, that was down in the lab. I mean, I think, and even in the first one, you were actually like shooting flamethrowers at the big ass.
The zombies were cool,
yeah.
And now they turned into the friggin' things from Stranger Things.
Yeah,
it's like, come on.
Where's
man.
11? Where is she?
They have all kinds of vines coming out.
Yeah, it's like, man, it's like here's this dude now. He's walking around like a tree. He's throwing vines at you and stuff.
What was the one that was really gory? Nemesis, I think, right? That was a pretty decent one. Was that Resident Evil 3?
That was 3, yeah. I mean, they were all pretty gory. They all got kind of gory.
That's when I think they stepped over the line with the characters were just so wild. I mean, it was like you beat them, then they had an eye come out, then you beat the eye, then there's 2 other eyes. You're like, man, this thing.
I think it was the second one.
Yeah, they were all pretty gory.
And then they remade the second one, and it was even worse. I mean, they made it like really gory. Like the dude, he grabs the head and moves his head, and his jaw just becomes unhinged and shit. And you see all the ligaments
pops out and shit.
I mean, it's like, damn. So they
made the one dude right in the beginning fucking gets ripped in half.
Yeah, the remake
he like fucking drag his body out. Elliot, I think his name is.
Yeah, the remake was way better.
Yeah, it's cool to like, especially because going back to the 64, I used to play that Resident Evil 2 to death on that because I got it for Christmas one year. And I fucking played the shit out of it, so it's like one of those games that was ingrained in my mind. I could play with my fucking eyes closed, so being able to relive it on modern hardware with modern graphics was pretty fucking cool.
But I have to say, another series that I really liked, because there was only a very few handful of series that I liked playing from the very beginning to the bitter end. Was Gears of War is another one.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That I played the shit off of. I mean, I played it so much I probably, wore off the artwork on the CDs. And it's just like that storyline was just badass. So it was gory. You got, who the hell has a chainsaw machine gun? And then you take that chainsaw machine gun and you chop these things down the middle. I'm like, man, this is awesome. Because it was basically, to me, it was like, back in the day, it was like the aliens, aliens, the colonial marines, or whatever the hell you call them. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like that, but now these aliens are actually, not climbing up walls or anything. They're actually on foot and running around just like you are.
Actually, in the Gears of War series, the humans are the aliens. Because they're not on Earth. They're the invaders.
I'm just saying that it was just really, really cool shit.
I gotta say that the game I played the shit out of, especially on PS2, it was probably the first game I played 24 hours straight, and that was GTA 3 and Vice City. I played the living fuck out of those games.
Oh, that game was incredible, man.
Dude, like
that was Ray Liotta in there, right?
That was Vice City. I played that game like when I first got it. Like, and Dave would play it before me, and then Dave would go to sleep, and I fucking just sit there and play it until he woke up. So I'd be on there for like 20 hours, easy, on those games, just exploring, getting shit. He's like, how the hell did you get the assault rifle already? I'm just like running around parts of the city he unlocked already. And it was really cool, but especially like, those games back there. And then, when fucking GTA 4 came out and it's got that modern HD graphics, and like, you look back at it now, it's kind of blurry. It's nothing like GTA 5. GTA 5's kind of become a little bit of its own monster with the online shit. They just keep releasing more and more fucking content, and it's like, yeah, they say it's for free, but you got to spend fucking $3 million and money just to get a car you like. It's like that's a $60 fucking car. Real money, $60.
What they're doing with that GTA series is, I think the 5th is actually the last one. From here on out, the GTAs are not going to be numbered. Probably the next one that comes out will probably be like, GTA Online, where they can keep adding content. Where if you want to get on the plane or something, it takes you to a whole nother map.
I wouldn't be surprised, because they already said when they announced it, it's going to be an expanded and enhanced version on this next generation of consoles, and that GTA Online is going to be its own free thing. So I really don't think you're far off at all. I think they're probably going to do that. They're going to do away with the numbers, and I wouldn't be surprised if they bring back all the characters together or whatever too. You play with the silent guy from the third one.
They bring back what's his name, Vercetti.
Tommy Vercetti.
Yeah, from fucking Vice City. You know, they all get together and do some kind of big ass mission or some shit. I don't know, but or they'll just be playable characters.
That'd be cool either way. But we're gonna be wrapping up here. So last thoughts, Wayne. Where you at?
Last thoughts.
Yeah. For the podcast.
All this Nintendo talk has me just wanting to go out and buy more Nintendo games. I thought the addiction was over, but now that we've talked for about an hour right now, I kind of want to go out to the game store and see what they have. But I do want to get a Sega Genesis, though. That's one that I don't have, and from a collector's standpoint, yeah, it's probably not worth a whole lot, but it was probably my top 2 next to Nintendo because it came right after, and I thought every game that came out really for Sega Genesis was just amazing for the most part. So,
That's sentimental value.
Yeah, it does have that sentimental value to it, and I love the old school retro games. I just feel it's a part of history we're never going to get back again. But if you have one, definitely take it out and play it because it definitely gives you the goosebumps going back in time.
You can introduce it to your kids.
Like,
They might
like the
learn to love
music
it too.
You know, music today sucks.
Yeah.
You know, you jam out to music from back in the day, you listen to the stuff now, you're like, man, I could just throw a bunch of pots and pans down the steps and write a CD.
Yeah, you don't get goosebumps anymore. You want to get violent. Stop it.
Really final thoughts, man.
Me, I'm still gaming. I'm 40 years old, man. Fucking old ass man, still playing games. I wish I had it for my job. Excuse me. I'm probably right now waiting for Cyberpunk to come out.
It looks good.
It's got Keanu Reeves in it and shit, so that's gonna be the next game I play. I'm also looking at the NBA 2K21. I'm still playing NBA 2K20. Shit's fun as hell. I love their sports games. Waiting to see what Madden does because there was a little bit of a gap there for a little while with the Madden games really being horrible in the controls and everything. It was pretty bad, and they're coming around again. NHL games were good. I'd like to see 2K come back with an NHL game because they were whipping the shit out of EA Sports for the longest time, but now it just seems to be EA. But
I kind of like to see a new Blitz game. I think that'd be fun as shit.
Yeah,
Like they had that one game for 360. I can't remember the name of it now, but it had the euphoria physics and the dudes get hit and like they fucking crumpled in themselves.
Yeah,
I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, I played
Throwback or Throwdown or some shit. I can't remember.
I mean, we had something we played on the old console. I think it was like Sudden Death or something it was called or something. You're like, yeah, I eat quarterbacks for breakfast, But yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I'm waiting for now. Cyberpunk. I might even check out that new Avengers that's coming out.
Yeah, that does look pretty good.
They changed all the faces of the characters because they didn't want to pay them. They figured they got enough money from all the movies they did. I mean, that looks pretty good.
Should have wrote that in the contract. You gotta get us a game.
Yeah, you gotta let us have your likeness.
But that's pretty cool. I like to see stuff like that. I mean, Mike Tyson now, he's making a comeback. It'd be really cool to see if EA Sports or something gets him to do a boxing game or something again.
That'd be cool to be a new Punch-Out, Mike Tyson Punch-Out too.
Yeah.
Grand champion.
They had Knockout Kings, round 1 and shit like that. And then
you guys want to play some Punch-Out after this?
Fight battle, whatever the hell.
I'll give it a shot.
Or Fight Night. It was Fight Night. It'd be cool to get Mike Tyson in there.
Oh, fuck yeah. I haven't played a good Fight Night game in a while.
There is somewhat of a lag, isn't there, with the new TVs?
Well, no, it's like there's a frame meister you can buy, and it drops it down. It's like there's like a input lag. Like you push the button, there's like an extra couple frames where it takes the jump or something like that. So it's like it's called the frame meister. You can get it and hook it up to modern TVs.
That's what I'll do.
These fucking new TVs fucked up a lot, man. Like we all like playing Duck Hunt now. We can't play Duck Hunt. All we can do is grab.
That dog just laughs all day long, but you can't kill anybody.
Yeah.
You can't shoot any of the birds.
But
the ducks.
Other than that, man, I could talk about games and and everything for hours. You know,
That's good. Maybe I can have you guys over next weekend. We do this every Sunday, and
$25 an hour.
yeah, kiss my ass. But anyway, thank you all for showing up, and we'll maybe have another episode with these guys here in the studio. And
Let me see here. All right.
Subscribe, Buzby Gaming.
Yeah.
Get on there. We're changing the world, one day at a time. Make gaming great again.
Alright, if you guys like content like this, please be sure to like, share, comment, and
All
subscribe.
right, I got something for you here. It's gonna be pretty cool, man. This will be a great way to close out the.
Okay, well, apparently I already did a close, but we're going to have Dave do another close.
But it's always fun, man. If I could get it now, it's just.
You're gonna edit it, though, right?
No, I'm just going to put it out like this.
Let me see.
So we
Here.
got to try and fill the silence while Dave goes through his
I'm
multimedia.
going, man. I'm going.
Make sure it's not copyrighted.
Yeah,
but
man.
Cut him out. I thought we had a good close in
it
there.
can't be copyrighted.
Well,
Yep, I can't post this video anymore. Thank you. All right, see y'all later.
What? It was only a couple seconds, man. What the fuck?